Okay, so one of the things, one of the responsibilities that I have as your broker is to keep you updated on changes that are going on in the marketplace and what things are happening here and there. And so I want to keep you updated on that. So to start out, we're going to talk about private listings. So there's been a lot of communication recently with private listings, and eh, there we go. There's been a lot of information recently about private listings, and so I want to bring you up to speed on some of the things that are going on concerning private listings. Um, okay, okay. Um, so what we have going on is in Washington, the state of Washington, they passed a law recently, uh, effectively banning private listings. In other words, every listing has to be shown on the MLS in Washington State. Connecticut also enacted a similar law. So we have two states that have effectively banned private listings, and there's other states that are considering similar things, such as the state of New York, state of Illinois, and Hawaii. Um, and this has been brought about, I think, by this whole Zillow Compass dispute on how things are going, and so I think that that's why we're seeing some of these things happen. And we talked in the past a little bit about private listings and are they good for the consumer or not good for the consumer. And so one of the things that we want to keep in mind is what's going on in the rest of the country concerning private listings. Um, so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get down into some of the MIBOR BLC listing rules. We'll continue to discuss that a little bit later. Next topic is Zillow. Be careful what you give them. One of the things going on with Zillow, and I sent in on a recent uh, webinar concerning Zillow and what they're up to. Uh, and I've long said that Zillow's not our friend, and they would like to replace us if they could. And Zillow, to that effect, has gone out and made acquisitions of a lot of companies like Showing Time and Dotloop and let's see, what is it? Uh, well, it's their CRM program. Can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But at any rate, when they did these acquisitions, one of the things that they said was that, well, we're not going to use this information. Zillow will not use this information. These companies, Dotloop, et cetera, they'll all stay separate, and Zillow will not use any of that data, will not have access to that data, and et cetera. Well, over time, they have gradually changed their terms and conditions. So you know, periodically, if you have a product, you know, you'll get this little screen that pops up and says there's been changes to your terms and conditions, and you have to acknowledge it. And usually nobody goes and reads what those changes are. Um, but what those changes are and what those changes have been happening with Zillow is that they've changed those terms and conditions so that Zillow can now use that data. And so your question that you should ask yourself is, what are they doing with that data? What are they using it for? Well, right now, what most people believe that they're using it for is to uh, train their AI models. And so by having access to all the data on dot loop, all the data on the CRM, I wish I could remember the name of that CRM, and all the data on showing time, they're training their AI model how to do real estate and using that data. Um, it's not too far of a leap to realize that at some point they could actually use the data to go after those clients. So I really urge you, if you're currently using dot loop or showing time or any of the products that are owned by Zillow, number one, you're giving them information to train their AI model that might eventually someday put you out of business. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but it certainly could happen in the future. And you're also giving them potentially the ability to start calling on your clients, and they get that information that you've given them freely by using their products. So, just a heads up, you want to be careful with Zillow. And I really, they're not our friend, and so you have to be very careful out there in terms of what you're doing. And that's one of the reasons why MyBor switched from showing time to Broker Bay. They felt that it was a conflict of interest that Zillow owned showing time. And so that's why we are now using Broker Bay, whether we like Broker Bay or not. At least they're not owned by Zillow. Um, so that's all I want to say about Zillow. Any questions on that from anybody? Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is referral fees. And referral fees are the next potential lawsuit, um, because, there's this idea within real estate that we're not being transparent. And so, because a lawsuit was won against the National Association of Realtors about commissions, now there's a lot of pressure within the industry. Well, not within our industry, but within the legal industry to continue to look for things that they can pursue, because one of the things that has surprised them uh, since the National Association of Realtors settlement, all the people in the legal industry thought that commissions would go down. They haven't gone down. They thought that people using realtors would decline. It hasn't declined. In fact, it's increased. And so they're puzzled by that. And of course, the reason that they're puzzled by that is that their lawsuit never had merit in the first place. There never was collusion between the National Association of Realtors and individual brokerages and real estate commissions. They were barking up the wrong tree essentially for that. But that doesn't mean that they've given up, and that doesn't mean that they're not looking for new things to go after us. So one of the things that the Indiana Association of Realtors has been um, kind of what I want to say, they've been ahead of the game with is the Indiana Association of Realtors has decided to come out with forms, in the state of Indiana has decided to kind of lead the way a little bit here. So I want to share with you a little bit of the information that I received just this morning from the Indiana Association of Realtors. So I'm going to share my screen here with you. Wow, this is okay. Do you guys see my screen now? It should say referral fees, May market, and license renewal
Yep.
season.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they're giving us advanced guidance on IAR legal forms changes. I'll just read this off to you. It's probably hard for you to see on the screen. As you know, the passage of the House Enrolled Act 1252, so this is Indiana law, will require written disclosure of real estate referral fees. So Indiana's kind of ahead of the game, and IAR's moving ahead on that too. And so it's going to require written disclosure of real estate referral fees between brokerage companies to customers and prospective clients effective July 1. So that's coming up the end of this month, July 1. This change is going to take place. So IAR will issue a new referral fee disclosure form, form number 76, and add language to residential and commercial listing and buyer agency contracts to help members comply with this state law supporting customer or consumer transparency. So new and updated forms will be available on July 1st, and they'll carry a July 2026 copyright. This is in close proximity to the NAR Board of Directors meeting that'll be taking place. So there could be additional changes to these forms, but they're going to put the forms out on July 1st. If there's additional changes that need to be made as a result of the National Association Board of Directors meeting, then they'll include those later on. Basically, how this works is if our brokerage company, so Realty World Indy, if we refer a prospective client or customer to another brokerage company, so in other words, an outbound referral, a broker who works under a different managing broker, in other words, you must disclose any compensation the company may receive to that customer or prospective client. And the disclosure must be in writing at the time the referral is made. And this will be done by form number 76. Now, if referrals are being made between brokers working under the same managing broker, so if one of you refers to somebody else within our brokerage, no disclosure is required for that. And there will also be changes to the listing contract and to the buyer tenant exclusive agency contract, and there'll be a new form for referral fee disclosure. That's at form number 76. So just wanted to give you a heads up. Those changes are coming July 1st, so be ready for those. And understand what's driving those is the desire to stay away from lawsuits and to have more transparency with clients. So that's what's going on with that. I'm going to stop my share now. So so at any rate, that's what's going on with IAR. Any questions on that? Okay, nobody has questions?
Yes, what are the changes on the listing contract? Do
There'll
they tell you or not yet?
changes on the listing contract, yes. They discuss that. So we'll have to see how that is played out on the form. There will be changes. When those new forms come out, we'll go through those. When the forms are available and
Okay.
the changes.
Will they be July
May
1st?
say in here, let's see what this says. So they're going to add on the listing contract, they're going to add a new paragraph. And the paragraph's going to say referral fee disclosure. Listing broker company is or is not obligated to pay a portion of the listing broker compensation to a referring broker company for having referred client to broker. So it'll be a new paragraph basically that's in there. With a buyer paragraph, it'll be referral fee. So on the buyer tenant exclusive agency contract, it'll be a new paragraph fee, referral fee disclosure. Buyer broker company is or is not obligated to pay a portion of the buyer broker compensation to a referring broker for having referred client to broker. The same. Those are basically the changes that are happening there. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. The last thing, as far as an industry update, there's a lot of concern in the industry. Are MLS a thing of the past? Is there going to be a national MLS? Um, what's going on there? Well, right now it's a bit of a chess game that's going on out there from an industry perspective. So MLSs, they're their own animal, and so they're trying to figure out how do we navigate all of this complexity that's coming up in the marketplace and what's going on. So I think for now, MLSs are absolutely a key thing. I think though that one of the things that we will probably see in the future is consolidation of MLSs. So instead of Indiana having three or four different MLSs, we will maybe have just one, or it might even be a regional MLS. So it might cover a region and not just a state. So I think that we may see some consolidation in that regard. Remains to be seen, but we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll let you guys know what I hear and what I'm seeing out there from what's going on in the industry. So that's all my industry update for you. Any questions on that? Okay, no questions. We're going to talk about Realty World updates, and I'm going to share my screen again with you. Okay, and you should be looking at, let's see, there we go. This should be, you should be seeing you should be seeing our
important announcements.
dashboard. Do you see the Relium dashboard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So at the conference, those of you who attended the conference, not everybody was on the conference, but those who attended the conference, whoops. How do I get back to where I was? Oh, here we go. Okay. Those that were at the conference saw an announcement about World Real Estate Association. And we've been offered to pre-register, and you can go to the Relium dashboard to do that. You also should have received an email about that. But at any rate, you have the ability to join that organization for free. There's no cost to us. I'm not actually sure what this does. I'll read it to you here. The World Real Estate Association, RIA, is building a worldwide network of real estate professionals dedicated to excellence, collaboration, and free trade across international markets. RIA's mission is to empower real estate professionals through education, advocacy, and community, helping members expand their global reach, strengthen their expertise, and thrive in increasingly connected industry. As a Realty World member, you have opportunities to engage with RIA committees, access educational resources, participate in advocacy initiatives, and connect real estate professionals around the world. I've asked for clarification on what all this actually means, and haven't heard back from Lisa Gerdes yet about it. But I want you to be aware of it. I would recommend that you go ahead and pre-register for it. It doesn't cost you anything. And presumably, as this comes online, we'll get more information about what it does and whether it will actually be beneficial to us. And then the other thing is there's a move again on this moving tag. That was in the conference last year, and we decided it really wasn't worth our time and effort. Well, it's still out there, so if you want to participate in it, it does give you some information here about how you can go about it, and you can earn if any of your uh, providers join this network, um, and you'll get a commission for their part of the fee. So you'll earn a percentage of their subscription fee. We decided in the past it really wasn't worth it, but I just want to let you know it's out there still, and it is on the main page here in our internet. Uh, Also, there's information on here if you were not able to attend the conference and you'd like to see the agent awards portion of it, or the loyalty celebration. You can just click into this, uh, and it will show those. Those are on YouTube. And so here's convenient links for you to view those. So if you weren't able to be at the conference and you'd like to see that information, you can go ahead and do it. Then the final thing is Realty World University on Wednesday, the 10th, 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll have a presentation training from Gabrielle Jeans concerning the AI listing machine, how to sell homes faster with smart marketing, and using AI to do that. So should be a good webinar. And these webinars are recorded, so if you missed the webinar, you can view it later, the recording. So you know how I feel about that. So at any rate, that's one of the things that I think you should keep an eye on. And that kind of any questions on Realty World updates? Okay. Do you have questions on any topic? If you have a question on any topic, you could bring it up now. Not hearing any questions. So if you're asking, maybe you haven't unmuted. No questions? Then I'll move on. Do you have any coming soon listings that will be coming soon? I have a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, traditional, well, semi-traditional 2-story in Carmel coming in on market. Don't know the pricing on it yet. Probably be coming in about 30 days or so. And it does have some nice updates, like an updated kitchen, baths, things of that sort. So just so that you're aware of that. Okay. If nobody else has anything else on that, we're going to continue on to MIBOR BLC listing rules. And first of all, I want to show you how to get to these. So if you go to MIBOR Central and you click on My BLC, okay, which is BLC governance, and then you come down here to the bottom governing documents. You can click on rules and regulations, and it takes you to this form right here. And this is the BLC listing service rules and regulations. So these are the rules which govern us and our interaction with the BLC. And I think it's important to understand these. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I do want to highlight a couple things. First of all, Section 1, listings of real property of the following types, which are listed subject to a real estate broker license located within the state of Indiana and taken by participants shall be entered into the listing service within 2 full business days of the listing date. Okay, so of the time that you list a listing, you have 2 days to get it into the BLC before you're in violation. And this includes residential properties, commercial properties, and residential income properties and land. So all of these are included in this requirement. A listing must be available for scheduling a showing within 1 day of the listing date to remain in the active status. Failure to enter a listing within the required time frame or failing to allow showings on an active listing will result in a violation and subject to fine per the MIBOR BLC compliance policy. So you could get fined if you don't do this. Now, note, Indiana license law requires a real estate brokerage to establish a written contractual relationship to advertise a property. This would include the placement of a sign, promotional advertising, or entry into the service. Placement of a sign or promotion of a listing in any way prior to the written contractual relationship to advertise a property is a violation of Indiana real estate license law. So what that means is, like for your coming soon listing or whatever it might be, you have to have a listing agreement in writing before you can do anything. So keep that in mind that is a requirement. Listings in the listing service that are not available for showing will not be shared via the BLC's distribution network via syndication or IDX. And see Section 1.4 regarding seller's voluntary directive to hold listing as office exclusive form if the seller refuses to permit listing to be disseminated by the service. So in other words, private listings or pocket listings. In addition, non-listed property in which the listing service participant was the selling broker must be entered into the listing service after closing. So this covers a for sale by owner or even a transaction that you do where you don't list the house, but you do represent the buyer. You have to enter that into the listing service after you close on that sale. So that is a requirement of the BLC rules. All listings must include the date of the listing and date of expiration exactly as shown on the listing contract. The first day of a listing is the date the listing contract becomes effective, regardless of the hour of the day. And the listing expires at midnight of the last day of the listing period agreed upon by the participant and the seller. So those are some things to keep in mind. Down here, it talks about the clear cooperation policy. Clear cooperation policy, that's section 1-1. Within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the listing service for cooperation with other BLC participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, including IDX and VAL, digital communications marketing, email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, and applications available to the general public. So that's clear cooperation policy. There's a note here. Exclusive listing information for required property types must be entered into the listing service and distributed to other BLC participants for cooperation under the clear cooperation policy. This applies to listing filed under Section 1 and listings exempt from distribution under Section 1.4 and any other situation where the listing broker is publicly marketing an exclusive listing that is required to be entered into the service and is not currently available to other BLC participants. So let's go on to these office exclusive listings. If the seller refuses to permit the listing to be disseminated by the BLC listing service, the participant may then take the listing office exclusive, and such listing shall be entered into the service, but not disseminated to the participants. Entry of the listing shall be accompanied by a copy of the seller's voluntary directive to hold listing as office exclusive form signed by the listing agent, managing broker, and seller within 2 full business days of the listing date. Failure to submit the seller's voluntary directive to hold listing as office exclusive form within the required time frame will result in violation and subject to fine per the MIBOR BLC compliance policy. Office exclusive listings must be distributed to other BLC participants through the listing service within 1 business day of the listing being public marketed. So if you list an office exclusive listing and then subsequent to that you start marketing it, it has to be entered within 1 day. And there's a form that we're going to review that's required to be submitted to MIBOR. Okay, way down here in towards the end of this, and again, you can see how extensive this is. Way down here, pre-market. So this is a status that is now allowed, pre-market or coming soon listings. Listings entered as pre-market provide contractual protection while allowing the seller time to prepare the property for public availability. These listings must be entered within 2 business days of the listing agreement and include at least 2 photos. Pre-market listings can be marketed but are not included in internet display data feeds and cannot be included in automated emails. Showings are not allowed in this status, and days on market does not accumulate during this period. Okay, so that is what's allowed in terms of a coming soon or pre-market listing. Any questions on this these rules and regulations? Okay, not hearing any questions, I want to continue on then and show you these forms. And I have never signed one of these forms. And so that means that nobody has ever done a pre-market listing, or if they did do a pre-market listing, they broke the rules and regulations of the BLC to do it. So I want to bring these forms up. So there's a form, and these are not in the IAR forms. These are in the BLC specific forms. So when you're adding a form to your transaction, this is under the BLC, not under the IAR residential forms. This is under the BLC. That's where you will find these. So there's a seller's voluntary directive today to delay listing distribution. So this is the coming soon, famous coming soon listing. Okay. And this form has to be filled out and signed by the seller, by the agent, and by the broker, me. This is required then to be submitted to MIBOR. The undersigned sellers have contracted with the listing office to list the seller's property for sale or lease the listing. The purpose of this document is to instruct the BLC listing service to carry out seller's voluntary directive to delay distribution of the listing to the public via the BLC listing service online distribution network, which includes broker reciprocal display, syndication of national portals, and display on MIBOR.com. Listing details must be submitted to the MIBOR Brokers Listing Cooperative BLC listing service within 2 business days of the listing contract's effective date to ensure timely distribution to other brokers for cooperation. To carry out seller's directive to delay the distribution of the listing, this directive must be signed by the listing agent, listing managing broker, and all sellers, and submitted to the MIBOR BLC within 2 business days of the listing contract's effective date. Failure to submit the listing details and the fully completed voluntary directive to delay listing distribution form within the required time frame will result in an automatic fine of $250 to the listing agent. Please complete the following information. So you have to list the property address, the owners, listing office ID, listing office agent ID, listing date, office name, listing agent name, and a listing expiration date. Then down here, by initialing each statement below, the seller fully understands and acknowledges the effects of delaying distribution of the listing via the BLC listing service distribution network, which include but are not limited to, and they have to initial this, delaying the distribution of listing via the BLC listing service distribution network may substantially reduce market exposure and result in fewer potential buyers' awareness of the listing. The second thing they have to initial, while distribution of the listing via the BLC listing service distribution network is delayed, the listing may be displayed on fewer public-facing websites. And then the third thing that they have to acknowledge, while distribution of the listing via the BLC listing service distribution network is delayed, the listing may be displayed on fewer of the national portals, either immediately or for the term of the listing contract. And so by signing below, the undersigned parties represent that the sellers have directed that the listing shall not be distributed via the BLC listing services network until and unless the listing agent, at the direction of the sellers, instruct the BLC listing service otherwise. By signing below, the undersigned parties also agree to hold MIBOR service code, harmless and etc. There's a place for the seller to sign. There's a place for the listing agent to sign, and there's a place for the managing broker, me, to sign. Any questions on this form or where to find it? Okay, so this governs pre-market listings, and it's called the Seller's Voluntary Directive to Delay Listing Distribution. Now, there's one other form, which is the Seller's Voluntary Directive to hold listing as office exclusive. And that's a form if it's going to be a pocket listing, and then you have this form to fill out. And I'm not going to, we're already running over here, so I'm not going to run through this whole form with you, other than to point out that there are, it's a similar form to the pre-marketing thing. There are paragraphs that they have to initial. This does have to be submitted or you're liable for a fine, and I have to sign it. So if you do either of these types of listings, a pre-market listing or coming soon, or an office exclusive that's not advertised out there, you will require this form, and I have to sign it. So I haven't signed any of these, so if you've done any of these kind of things, then you've done it without the proper representation. So at any rate, that's where we are in terms of this information. So I'm going to stop my share, and I guess I have stopped it. Maybe you're probably looking at the screen here. So any questions on anything that we've discussed? I'm not hearing any questions, so I presume that there's no questions on what we discussed. I'm going to stop the recording here.